In this episode, we talk about the midterm elections happened. We got a rainbow wave as the media fixated on calling for a red one.
Ex-Detransitioner Ky Schevers tells the truth about the movement she now regrets helping to create. Thanks.
Elon Musk buys a pet tiger and seems stunned it's eating his face.
Joe Rogan's producer actually did a critical fact check on an absurd transphobe that they chose to give their large platform to. Wait, did hell freeze over?
Welcome to Full Circle, the podcast.
Coming to you from the dining room table at East Barbary Lane, welcome to another episode of Full Circle, the podcast. A weekly visit to our home where we squeeze a few headlines through our decidedly queer lens and see what happens. This episode is brought to you by Decanted Jug Wine and election results that give me hope.
I am your host, Charles Tyson Jr.
And I'm your host, Martha Madrigal. Welcome to the Full Circle table. Hey, Sniffles.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Between Ailey sneezing through my introduction and you popping allergy pills, everybody's all snotty today. It has been a week.
Charles has it.
Tuesday was election day, Tuesday the 8th. We are recording today, Thursday the 10th.
Yes.
There are quite a few things still not known to us about the election, but I am hopeful.
Yes, fingers are crossed.
Yeah, I am very hopeful that the Democrats will maintain control of the Senate, and I am cautiously optimistic they will continue to control the House.
Yes.
That we probably won't know that for a while.
Yeah.
California is going to play a big role. New York has disappointed me, but, such is life.
Making us wait for it.
Yeah, New Jersey added a red congressional seat. But it's like Tom Kane's kid, and he has a, legacy. So,
right.
Yeah. We know how legacy hires go.
Well.
But, whatever. Overall, federally, good news. Locally, Pennsylvania came through and
they did.
Blew. John Fetterman is going to be the next senator from Pennsylvania, replacing Pat Toomey. Woohoo! Thank God. That's a seat that the Democrats did flip. And, his challenger, as we all know, was carpetbagger, Dr. Oz.
Yeah, that.
So this makes John Fetterman the Wizard of Oz.
Tee-hee.
Right. Yeah, that's a Julia Scotti joke. I stole the second I read it.
Right.
I'm like, all right, that is mine now, too.
Yoink.
This is how it works. But yeah, and Pennsylvania elected Josh Shapiro governor. So we have another Democratic governor following Tom Wolf. This is good news.
Check.
Yeah, and this is not yet confirmed because votes are still being counted, but it looks like the Pennsylvania House of Representatives will be blue.
Woohoo!
This is so big. I mean, it's been a long time. Pennsylvania and Michigan both, their fair districting, their gerrymandered nonsense went away this election, and they are both now districted fairly. And it looks like, the Democrats may very well take the Pennsylvania House, and good.
Yes, Lord.
And this is one of those scenarios that really shouldn't be that difficult to understand. And it's something I try to explain to people. You don't have to love the person in charge or the party in charge necessarily.
Right.
You want to love what they stand for overall. So,
right.
For instance, the committees that the Republicans have staffed because they were in charge for so long are often run by lobbyists.
Right.
You know what I mean? So the committee on I don't know, the environment is run by like an oil man. That kind of thing
Right.
happens all the time. Republicans are famous for it. It's a very cynical approach to government. They aren't governing
Right.
at all. In fact, they tend to not represent, what the committees are ostensibly supposed to be in charge of.
Right.
They actually represent often the opposite. So, and what I mean by all that is, but with the Dems in charge, you'll actually get people passionate about the environment, caring about the environment. So those committees will, the leadership of all of those committees will change hands.
Yes.
And that would be a huge breath of fresh air for Pennsylvania.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, I'm really excited for, because we still have such deep roots across the river, and I'm really, really excited for all of the passionate people I know that have worked so hard for so long to come to this place. And thrilled for Fetterman, and congratulations, Josh Shapiro. Austin Davis will be his lieutenant governor. I believe that is an historic vote as well. So, good things across the river.
It actually feels like there's good sense out there.
Yeah, well, my heartfelt condolences, though, to both Texas and Florida.
Yeah.
Floridians took a look at all of the nonsense that has been Rick DeSantis through COVID and beyond, don't say gay, etc., and said, yes, please, more of that.
Yes.
Let's have more.
Give me more.
We
Give me
have
some more.
we have not had enough of this, including the quote unquote medical committee deciding, all of the protocols in place for trans medicine, no, this should be decided by politician doctors, not actual doctors who care for us. So, that kind of nonsense is going to escalate, at least in Florida and Texas, because y'all haven't had enough yet.
Right.
And for all of our family, and friends in those states, I'm so sorry. I really am. I'm so sorry. Because I know how that feels. It's very defeating. Very defeating to, be in the minority and also have people actively fighting against your rights as a human.
That part.
Yeah. Yeah. The ultimate good news is that a lot of Texas has lost, so many times already in court. And I think Florida ultimately will. So much of what they're doing is unconstitutional and frankly illegal. But it takes time. And in the meantime, if you're the family, if you're a trans person, or especially if you're the family of a trans child, receiving life-saving care, you may have to, you're faced with, do I relocate? Do I go out of state for care? What do I do? Do I turn to the black market now to keep my kid
That's real.
alive? Yeah, it's real. It's sad. It's chilling. And it's all based in prejudice and hate, pure and simple.
Yeah.
There's no science behind it. There's no goodwill behind it. They're not protecting anyone. We're used to it. Anyway. So it was a mixed bag of an election. The thing that really has resounded for me, I don't like the way the media portrayed this. I don't like the way so many of them, were calling for this big red wave and telling us all to, because that does dishearten voters. That does, makes at least some people stay home. I wish that it wasn't so.
Right.
But it's like, well, my vote doesn't matter anyway. Yes, it does. And it's the one voice you've got. It's how we participate in our democracy, and how much blood has to be shed for the right to just vote before more than 40% of the eligible voters cast a vote.
And that's what I've been saying for years now. No matter who you are, whether you're black, white, man, woman, if you are
all the glorious shades in between,
all the glorious shades and combinations in between, if you are an American citizen, your ancestors' blood is on your right to vote.
Yeah, it is.
Like, period.
Yeah, it is.
So who are you to throw that away? I know sometimes it doesn't feel as hopeful as others, but it doesn't matter. If you do nothing, nothing happens.
And I grew up in this house, in this town. My parents always voted.
Yeah.
Always. Election day, no matter what was on the ballot, no matter how small, no matter how important, my parents always voted. My mother worked the polls. I went to, with my father, usually because my mother was working when I was a kid, to go vote. And, I did the same thing with my children. So, if that wasn't your experience, make it your children's experience, please. If, set that example of participating in your democracy, because it is fragile. Oh my God, is it fragile?
I remember being a little kid and going with my mom when she would vote.
Yeah.
And, I'm like literally knee high to her, but we go into the place, and then the curtain goes around, and then she pushes some buttons, and then we leave. And I know that was important. I never understood it.
Yeah.
Until I got older.
Yeah. I feel much more passionate about that than I even do jury service, because it's ambivalent there. Right. So much needs to change in our criminal justice system, but this is what we have. One vote, one voice is what we have. And, I want politicians who are committed to making voting easier and more accessible for everyone to prevail. I want to see some of this money out of politics. I really do. Or greater transparency.
Right.
Dark money should not ever be a part of politics. We should know where every dollar is coming from.
Exactly.
At the very least. And campaign finance reform has been bantied about for a long time, but I will say, if the Democrats do take both the House and the Senate this time, I think there's a lot I want to see them do.
Yep.
And Martha will provide you all with a primer, I promise, of my wishes. But it was never an option to not vote. It was never an option, to not register to vote the first time you could.
Right.
I was 18, almost 19 the first time I voted, because, my birthday's in December. So it's like right after election day. So I had to wait. I had to wait. But of course I was registered. There was no choice.
Yeah.
It wasn't an optional thing. And growing up, it was like, you go vote. That's what you do.
Right.
So there should be more of that basic level of civic participation, and turn off the commercials. That's fun. Mute them, get up and pee.
Yeah.
Or, watch stream videos during election season. I know it gets on everyone's nerves. I mean, I get all the emails too, and I just delete them. I do not read all of it. Everybody does it. The fear mongering for money, the hyperbole, it makes me nauseous too. Me too. But you don't have to subject yourself to all of that. But vote anyway.
Vote.
Enough people did to make a real difference in Pennsylvania. I believe Michigan had a nice sweep too. Good.
Right.
Because that's how you keep some of this nonsense in check. I mean, this is, it's beyond kind of checks and balances. The parties are that different now. And rather than provide balance, we have one party that does little but provide chaos. And that's not okay. And that's not healthy. And it's not good for anyone.
Right.
Other than the billionaires who have benefited greatly by their shenanigans. Okay, enough about that, I guess. You want to do the podcast business stuff before we continue?
Yes, I do. So if you have not yet had the opportunity, please take the time, as soon as this episode is over, to rate us, review us, subscribe to us wherever you listen to podcasts. If you have a tidbit of praise or ideas, or just regular old doing a good job, drop us a line at askfullcirclepod@gmail.com. Follow us on social media. We are Full Circle Pod on Twitter, Full Circle the Pod on Instagram, Full Circle the Podcast on TikTok. Martha's social is I Martha Madrigal everywhere. You can find her writing on her website, iammarthamadrigal.wordpress.com. That's iammarthamadrigal.wordpress.com. I am never scared everywhere. NEVERSKURRED. Never scared. Our Patreon. Please consider being a patron and supporting not just our podcast, but inclusivity and a voice of the people. Patreon.com/Full Circle the Pod. It's fun over there. And you can be part of our Discord family, which is growing in its popularity.
Yay.
Yeah.
I still don't know what that is.
Podcast business is over. It's a chitty chat board. Let's just say that.
Right. Well, I mean, good. So this I can't put in good news yet, but there is, it's looking like Lauren Boebert may no longer be in Congress.
Aww.
It is not, the election has not been called. I think they're less than 100 votes apart, but she is not in the lead, and we're at like 99% counted, so we'll see what holds.
Yes.
But there's a possibility that she's no longer got the platform she's had for 2 years. Thank God.
Yeah, really.
So we'll see what happens. Can't put it in good news yet, but it's a thing.
We'll put it in hopeful news.
It's in my hopeful news. Yeah, yeah. So we have a lot of good news, I think.
We do.
I've alluded to the first bit of good news already, and that is the fact that there was no red wave.
Exactly.
While there was no red wave, thank God, the queer community won big in the midterm elections.
Rainbow wave.
Yeah, there was indeed a rainbow wave. I'm reading out of PGN, the Philadelphia Gay News. They are claiming we elected more candidates to public office than at any other point in history. Their number is 340 at last count.
Wow.
Every office from governor to state representative and everything in between. And they happened in some very surprising places. So Massachusetts has the first lesbian in the nation to be elected governor.
In the whole nation?
Maura Healey, yes.
My goodness.
In Colorado, the incumbent gay governor, Jared Polis, won re-election. Dana Nessel won re-election as the Michigan Attorney General. Trans women and trans men candidates won in places like Montana and Minnesota.
Wow.
LGBTQ people of color and immigrants won seats, including 3 in Pennsylvania.
Work.
Yeah, while Republicans were busy campaigning against us and our community,
Right.
there were mainstream Democrats who embraced us and campaigned on their support of our community. Among them, Josh Shapiro, again, Democratic governor-elect of Pennsylvania, campaigning to save marriage equality. John Fetterman, who as the lieutenant governor hung a rainbow flag outside his Capitol office window, which had Republicans passing legislation prohibiting all flags. That's the kind of nonsense that they do. And
so
really,
childish.
This is not the business of the people. The fighting of the flags. Like, move on.
Right.
Move on. Yeah, and he campaigned on his record, which is strong, and they both won. Their opponents were both Trump-endorsed candidates who lost, including Dr. Oz, who can... Now I guess he's going to just move back to New Jersey where he lived to begin with and carry on North Jersey, though, so he's not our problem.
Right.
And New York. I'm sure he lives most of the time in New York, where I believe his show was done, and he's a Columbia Presbyterian. Anyway.
Whatever.
Yeah. There is legislation to codify marriage equality. It already passed the House, and it needs 60 votes in the Senate to become law. I'd like to fix that quick. Tammy Baldwin, the first lesbian elected to the U.S. Senate from Wisconsin, is heading the lobbying team. She believes she'll have the votes. Yeah. normally PGN will list all the candidates, but there were 340 who won in the United States of America on Tuesday, and huge congratulations to all of them. Thank you for running. Thank you for everyone who ran and didn't win. Keep your head up and your hat in the game. We need voices. We need a diversity of voices, and the more folks who sit at the table, the better the conversation.
I've always found that to be true.
Yeah, it's true in life. It's true in politics. And politics is life, unfortunately.
Right.
This is big, I think. From the Oklahoman, Vicky Behenna has won election as Oklahoma County's next DA. She's the first woman to do so.
Wow.
She is a Democrat.
Huh.
And, she is also the federal prosecutor who prosecuted Timothy McVeigh for the Oklahoma City bombings.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. She has a long history. What I found interesting, so I'm just breezing through this. She takes over in January. She was a federal prosecutor for more than 25 years before she became a defense attorney in 2014. What I found really interesting about this whole thing is that in 2015, she became the executive director of the Oklahoma Innocence Project.
I'm not familiar.
Well, the Innocence Project fights, wrongful convictions.
Oh, okay.
Okay, they're the folks who fight for justice where there have been wrongful convictions, and they step in and they try to get it, new trials, or get folks acquitted, or get the whole thing overturned and thrown out, and they're the do-gooders.
Okay, we like that.
Trying to clean up. Right. Well, it is notable that with that in her history, she was the person Oklahoma County elected.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a great story. Congratulations to her.
Indeed.
Yeah. Even with more money spent against her, she prevailed. So here's some local news that made me smile big. Our friend Natalie Hope McDonald.
Hi, Natalie.
Hi, Natalie. Philadelphia area artist. We have some of her original art on our walls.
Yeah, we do.
And we have gifted it to loved ones. I love her work.
I do too.
And she did a fantastic, and we should link to this also in the episode notes, just the picture of.
We'll put it on our Instagram.
Yeah, she did a great portrait of Ketanji Brown Jackson in her wonderful style. And it turns out that was a gift to Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. And there is a picture of her holding
her portrait.
Her portrait that Natalie painted. And Natalie has an exhibition currently in the James Oliver Gallery. She's got an exhibition right now where you can go and see her art, and maybe even run into her here and there. I'm sure she'll be there some of the time.
I know she'll definitely be there on Saturday.
I heard that. I want to find out what time. Maybe we can pop by. But yeah, so big kudos to Natalie. I think it's wonderful. I love seeing the picture in Philadelphia Magazine, and they did do a story about it. And Natalie had no idea the portrait was going to wind up in the chambers of the justice where it will hang.
I know. I was just like, oh my God, that is so amazing.
It really is. It really is. There's a quote in the portrait. It says, "In my family, it took just one generation to go from segregation to the Supreme Court."
Right.
And that is in the background of the portrait. This is just, it makes my entire heart happy.
Mine too.
Yeah.
So here's a piece of news that I thought was interesting.
Okay.
So, son of famous country music star Hank Williams Jr., Sam Williams, came out as gay recently, which, is fun for me because his father, who you might remember if nothing else, from singing the damn catchphrase for the NFL. Are you ready for some football?
Is that him?
Yeah, him.
Okay.
He's notably conservative and has said various things about the LGBTQ community that were less than favorable. But
This should make their Thanksgiving interesting.
exactly. But yeah, so his son, Sam, came out on Apple Music's Proud Radio with Hunter Kelly.
Okay.
He said, I felt like I was promoting invisibility, like I wasn't being visible and wasn't being myself. And I just thought it was the perfect opportunity to just show who I was. Talking about his the video for his new single, Tilted Crown, which I saw, and it was actually very sweet. In the video, he is in this theater, and he's sitting down in his seat, and the curtain opens, and we see a play of, like, him as a little kid, and, like, he's playing with his sister, and he's got, like, a cape, and he's playing dress up, and then his father comes in the room, or a character comes in the room that we're supposed to believe is the father figure, and he's got a cowboy hat on and all this stuff, and he takes the kid's crown off and takes the kid's cape off and puts the cowboy hat on his head, and the little boy's all sad. And then we fast forward to him having a friend, and then we fast forward to him and the friend kissing. And basically the point of the video is, once you become your authentic self, then you can revel in your authenticity and put your crown back on, and it shines. And
Yes, Lord.
it was good. I enjoyed it, and it's a country song, so for me to enjoy it, it had to have been good. He said, I identify as gay, and I've never said that to anybody else. I mean, people at my label know, people in my personal life know, but this is the first time that I've ever been, besides a show or two, this public about it. And the first time he came out was to his sister Katie, which makes sense considering the video.
Right.
And he said, I told her a few months before in Alabama, of all places, on the back of a four-wheeler.
Hey. Hey. We're everywhere. Literally.
Exactly. I just think it's very cool. We are everywhere. And, all of the conservative, quote-unquote, values in the world can't stand in the way of someone being their true self.
It's true.
You can't stop the beat.
You can't stop the beat.
Even when it's being played on a banjo.
Well, congratulations to Sam Williams, and thank you for taking a public stand.
Yeah. And speaking of families and truth and authenticity, Dwayne Wade is again in the news for standing up for his daughter again.
Yeah, I love that. Actually, this is an NBC News link. His response to his ex-wife's objection to their trans daughter changing her name. This isn't a game.
Exactly. She's claiming,
good for him.
Yeah, she's claiming that he's trying to profit off of the public persona of their daughter, because she's starting to get attention and she's starting to get like sponsorships and things like that. And so his ex-wife is accusing him of doing all this for profit for himself.
Please.
Exactly.
Please.
And, basically he was like, can you see why it's my ex-wife? This is not the first time.
And why he has custody.
Right. He has full custody.
Correct. If anyone is trying to have a moment of relevance, it's the ex.
Exactly. He said she's trying to, this is not the first time that she has tried to use their kid to center her own needs and her own wants. And he also said that he has more than once extended invitations to her to be involved in Zaya's schooling and activities to, no response. So, we see where this actually is going. He's doing the right thing, keeping his kid happy and healthy, and part of that is, unfortunately, keeping her mother away.
Yeah, this doesn't even make sense to me, but it's part of the story. The ex was quoted as saying that Wade may be pressuring our child to move forward with the name and gender change in order to profit from business opportunities Zaya was offered,
Right.
arguing Zaya should wait until she's 18 to decide. Okay, the child came out in 2020 at the age of 15, so
Right.
Zaya already is 17. Like, I don't, your argument is ridiculous. And how does the legal name change exactly help him to profit?
Exactly.
This is nonsensical on its face. What she's not paying attention to is what she's doing to her daughter.
Exactly.
It's, he responded in a good,
Yeah.
at least, it's always a challenge, magnified, of course, by public life. But, when there is this kind of nonsense back and forth between exes and the children sort of get caught up in the middle, and how to support your children. And I think he has essentially been very quiet about the whole thing. But now is a good time to stand up and say, you know what? This is harmful, and
Right.
stop it.
Right.
Yeah. Good on him.
The only
Good on him.
time he
I'm sure it's not easy for him.
right, the only time he is centered in this story is when he's standing up for his kids. So technically he's not even centered, he's centering her.
Yeah, and you know what? Famous father aside, Zaya should be able to do this privately. She has the support of her parents. I'm certain, she has good doctors, therapists if she needs them.
Right.
Surrounding her in love and support. And this is not something that's happening lightly.
Right.
And to even suggest it is just horrific.
And have you seen her lately? Like, that child is thriving, to say the least.
She is thriving. Of course she is.
She's
Well,
stunning.
She's a great example of what happens when we affirm trans kids.
Right.
And we meet them where they are.
Right.
And we support them.
Right.
That is what happens. Then that's when they get to be normal children.
Uh-huh.
That is when, once they're affirmed in their gender, they, then we're letting kids be kids.
Uh-huh.
It's fighting that. It's fighting that thing that you don't even understand and that has nothing to do with you.
Right.
That people should be ashamed of and knock it off already.
Right.
Just stay out of it. Unless you are the parent of a trans child or you're trans yourself, you actually have no business in this conversation. None.
Right.
None.
Like, let this child.
I don't like it. I don't care.
Right.
I know you find me icky. I don't care.
Right.
I don't care. When you start to legislate, when you start to step into my business, then I care.
Right. Meanwhile, this kid, like, since she's been allowed to be herself, day one of high school, he said she's never gotten anything less than an A. That's what I'm talking about. Just,
Right.
let the kids be.
And that story
they are.
resounds. That story resounds. Parents of trans kids who affirm their kids, all have very similar stories.
Right.
Is it all roses and sunshine? I'm sure it's not. But
Whose life is.
well, exactly. And really the parts that aren't roses and sunshine have a lot to do with feedback from ignorant people.
Well.
Not the child themselves finally being happy and seen and heard.
Right.
I'll say it every time, being forced through the wrong puberty is violent. It's violence. It's something that we, now that we know better and we have the tools, we need to do better.
Exactly.
Yeah. We'll get into some numbers a little bit later on that. So the first article that is linked there in front of you, Charles, is this article was in Slate. LGBT Nation has also covered the story. The headline is "An Ex-Detransitioner
Right.
disavows the anti-trans movement that she helped to spark." It's very similar to ex-gay communities.
Yep.
She now says no one really changes.
Of course not.
Yeah. So through the mainstream press, especially in the UK, but not only there, They often present detransition as a deep, dark secret of the trans community. And the issue is actually pretty simple. Something like 1 to 3% of people who begin a gender transition ultimately decide it's not for them, backtrack, or travel elsewhere across the landscape of gender identity. It's really a straightforward question of individual needs and no cause for alarm. However, in some cases, a person who once transitioned will turn against the concept of trans identity itself. And this is where, problems come in.
Right.
When they start forming activist groups around the idea that gender ideology, in quotes, was the source of their confusion and pain,
Right.
and call themselves detransitioners, they advocate for limiting access to medical transition in the name of protecting others from making what they see as their mistakes. Yeah, that's dangerous.
Yeah, it is.
Some detransitioners consider trans acceptance as something akin to a cult. And I'm reading directly. As I can attest, as a trans man and journalist, this is the writer, who has tweeted critically of them before, they can respond with pronounced hostility toward anyone who questions their beliefs.
No surprise there.
Right. Now, some former members of this so-called detransition movement have themselves grown disillusioned with detransition orthodoxy and are starting to speak out. They report that despite their efforts to change, they're still trans.
Right.
And most of the time that is exactly the case. People detransition for a variety of reasons. It's usually not because they aren't trans. It's because this is hard.
Right.
It's because they have no support. Sometimes they lose their whole family and they're not prepared to do that.
Right.
They're not prepared for poverty or homelessness. And too often that's the result.
Right.
Folks who have the resources and the support rarely, if ever, detransition. And plenty of people who don't have any resources and support still rarely detransition. We know many of them.
Yeah.
Many of them. This is hard. To call it a trend is always so goddamn insulting.
Exactly.
This is not a trend. This is not a fad. Please. But yeah, so, the reasons can be complex. It's usually societal and often it's temporary. A person will stop transitioning for a time and then resume when it's more possible, more comfortable, safer for them.
Right.
So they may have taken the leap a little bit too soon, may not have had, their proverbial ducks in a row to keep themselves safe and sane. And they had to stop a minute. That happens. That does happen. But, the narrative that's being sold is that there's all these people who regret it, and we're somehow manufacturing trans kids and pushing this on them because it's so profitable or something. It's so ludicrous.
Right.
So Ky Schevers is the most prominent to date to say this is not cool.
Right.
She started to transition to male when she entered college, before later ending her transition. She now again identifies as transmasculine, but and she chooses she/her pronouns. So I'm accurately using her pronouns.
Right.
Right now she is she/her and transmasc, and that is cool.
Right.
Yeah, but there was a lot of writing, a lot of vlogging about her detransition and the beliefs that led her to it. She was interviewed for 2 major articles on detransition, both by cisgender female journalists, for both The Outline and The Stranger. Both pieces tell the story of Schevers identifying as male when she entered college, starting testosterone therapy soon after her mother's death by suicide, and going off T, while still identifying as genderqueer. They end with her giving up her genderqueer identity, embracing the idea that not only her gender dysphoria, but all gender dysphoria was false and caused by internalized sexism combined with trauma. an idea she did much to advance and proliferate online. It's false. Today, she has recanted this view. According to her, just like the ex-gays of the 90s and 2000s, many of who claimed they overcame their sexuality after religious conversion. Of course, we know that's bullshit.
Right.
Only to reaffirm it later. Some detransitioned people still struggle in private against feelings of gender dysphoria that they can never fully suppress. It's very similar to ex-gay communities where there's a story out there that people change and it's great and everything, she told me. No one really changes. They learn to keep their desires under control.
Yeah. Right.
Well, I mean, that's what happens. You know, like, people don't stop being gay.
Right.
Okay. And I've yet to meet the person who proclaimed being gay and wasn't. I met them. I mean, maybe that's a thing, but you met them?
Nope.
Because usually it's like, okay, well, maybe you're not gay, but you suck a mean dick.
Right. Well,
You know, okay.
You may not be gay, but you know the handbook, girl.
Well, and here's the thing. If there was not stigma, okay, if there wasn't still stigma around being queer, around being trans, this, you wouldn't see nearly so much
Of course.
of what you do see.
Right.
But it's a small percentage to begin with.
Right.
A really good article in Slate. Detransitioners may be a small group. Even the highest estimates are in the hundreds, compared with an estimated number of trans-identified people in the low millions. But they have been influential in publishing their denial that trans identity is real. Publicly, detransitioners disavow not only their individual transition histories, but also the fact that transition helps trans people worldwide to live comfortably in their own skin. Although a few men also identified as detransitioned, most of the community congregates in sex-exclusive online forums for detransitioned women only. They believe gender dysphoria is common among women and disappears when they learn to love and accept their female bodies. Yeah, that's not how this works.
No.
Oh, God. They have gained influence, because of strong interest in their stories by both anti-trans activists and some journalists. In addition to being featured in countless horror stories aimed at frightening parents of gender nonconforming youth and undermining trans people organizing for their rights, this influence translated to a major loss for trans rights in the UK last December, when Kira Bell, a detransitioned woman, successfully argued in court that doctors and parents of trans youth were incapable of helping them to navigate decisions about transition-related treatment without court oversight. What kind of horseshit is that? Anyway. Yeah, okay. That case, though, was what finally prompted Schevers to go public with her criticisms of the detransitioned women's movement, despite being one of its founders. You know what? Welcome back. Welcome back. My sibling. And thank you for speaking out because it's important. She did say, people give a certain weight to those detransition stories. We always tried to emphasize that there were a lot of us, but the gatherings that took place were not large. They never got more than 30 women. And not all of them were detransitioners. She added, trans people deserve access to support, and it makes no sense to shut down people's access to medical transition just because some people end up detransitioning. Thank you, amen. At 35, she is no longer saying she was wrong about everything. Either in her transition or her detransition, she now identifies as a transmasculine, butch, dyke, genderqueer, something like that. And uses she, her pronouns. She, her pronouns contrast with her male-sounding voice and masculine presentation. She doesn't think that every single detransitioned woman is really trans, and understands that others may have different experiences. Schevers believes strongly that every person deserves the right to question their gender identity and find their own path. There's not always space in trans and queer communities for trans masc people to talk about internalized misogyny. I could talk about it openly without worrying that people were going to be upset by it within these detransition circles. She even sees the good in some of the ideology based in radical feminist ideas about internalized misogyny and male violence. Not all the radical feminist ideas were terrible either. I learned a lot about women's history. A lot of what I read was pretty interesting, and I'm glad I explored this stuff. Yeah, I think, the takeaway is that this person is standing up courageously and saying, it's not that simple, because it's not that simple.
Right.
And again, we know that very few people actually ever do detransition. Even among youth, by the time we're talking about puberty blockers, by the time we're talking about the decision to either stop them and continue with, the puberty that was coming, or to go on HRT, by that point, very, very, very few ever regret it.
Sure. Yeah.
Politicians and lay people with no skin in this game need to stop talking about it.
Yeah, really.
And maybe try to start talking with us instead of about us.
Well, that's just crazy.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, do you have like a 15-minute fave?
Yes.
To share with us? Is it off the playlist?
They're always off the playlist.
No, off the playlist that I was playing on election day. So many good songs. Oh my god.
No, my 15-minute fave is not off of that playlist.
Okay.
But real quick, if you want to talk about that.
Well, Michael Moore has been doing a series, regardless of how you feel about Michael Moore. I mean, he kind of called this. He was like, there is not going to be a red wave. I wish the media would stop it. I'm talking to people. I'm talking to people around the country who, this is a bridge too far. And I do want to mention, by the way, I forgot to make a note of this, but it's very important. Everywhere, I believe, everywhere that abortion was on the ballot, we won. Yeah. Bodily autonomy won. Everywhere where they tried to codify this whole no abortion law nonsense, that lost, sanity won.
And slavery is officially banned in Tennessee.
Just now?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, well, they finally gave up that ghost.
I thought that was a joke when I saw that headline. And
may they eventually give up the flag that supports it then?
Well.
Like it took till now to make it official.
Well, if you include like all forms of human trafficking.
Okay.
Yeah, but they put it under slavery.
Well, I mean,
I thought it was a joke because Tennessee. But none of that has anything to do with my pick.
All right, get to the damn song. Well, I'm going to keep talking until you. Sorry. I'm sorry.
This is just a happy ass song. That's all it is.
This is just a happy ass song. What's the song? Make me happy. Make me dance.
The song is by the Shapeshifters, and it features none other than Billy Porter.
Okay.
And it's a fun and funky disco style bop called Finally Ready.
All right.
So we're going to listen to that as we go out to break.
Wow. And we are finally ready for break and the 15-minute fave. We'll be right back.
On Thursday the 1st of December, it's the Red Ribbon Cabaret. Wandsworth Oasis will be hosting an evening full of singing, comedy, and of course, drag. Starring West Enders, Barbara Fellas, Janice and Barry Poppins, Martin Joseph, and of course, the diva extraordinaire. It's me, Lyra Bell.
On the night, we'll also have our live auction full of fabulous goodies to get your hands on.
That's right. Head on over to wandsworthoasis.org.uk to grab your tickets, which only start from £25.
Wandsworth Oasis is a local charity that raises awareness of HIV and helps fight the stigma, ultimately supporting people living with HIV.
And we're back.
We're back.
Well, that was fun.
Right?
Yeah, it's fun.
It's a happy song.
So is this margarita. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, because it's time for the cavalcade of nonsense.
Yeah.
Here we go again.
Well, let's start us off
Let's just plow through this garbage.
with a culture element of the cavalcade.
Okay.
So, a theater in the UK, the Icarus Theater Collective in particular, is facing a bit of criticism after announcing its plans to stage William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet set in 1930s Germany, with Romeo as a member of the Hitler Youth and Juliet as a Jewish girl.
Why?
That's the question that nobody could really answer. And like, I'm looking at the poster art for the play, and Romeo is spelled in like the big harsh gold militaristic font with the eagle over the M, and then Juliet's has got a Star of David over the I. Within moments of the promotion of the play, let's just say the response on social media was swift and harsh.
I would imagine.
Basically a resounding, what the hell are y'all even doing? And the director has since apologized, but still defended the production. They said, "We apologize and are deeply sorry for the offense we caused. Our Romeo and Juliet is a criticism of Nazi fascism and its particular relevance today, made in consultation with the Jewish community, including the director. Our casting director removed key information, and we failed to notice." So basically, you're trying to make this a love story set again. Just no.
Okay.
Like, no. Of all the backdrops, like, that just don't work. It just don't work.
No?
It's very like boy in striped pajamas to me.
Was that a mistake? I don't know. Was it?
No, I just mean like, what you're trying to like romanticize this. You can't.
Are they?
Yeah.
Well, I guess sort of.
Like literally.
I mean, yeah, Romeo and Juliet. I mean, but are they? Or is it? I don't know. But yeah, probably. Like, they're still good in a Nazi. Is that the idea? Like, I don't know.
I don't see a way that would work. And
Thank you for this margarita.
there are so many other plays that you could use.
Yeah, every remake is not well thought through.
Yeah, no.
Maybe if they glue their hands to the wall.
Stop. But the campaign against anti-Semitism, they said, "We struggle to think how this could be anything but tasteless. It is staggering that anyone would find this play about morally equivalent feuding families to be an appropriate way to explore Nuremberg-era persecution of Jews by Nazi Germany."
Thank you. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Morally equivalent feuding families is very different than that. Yeah, I was just struggling to find out, like, what is there any rationale or value in doing this? But no, I guess there really isn't.
Well, because with the Montagues and the Capulets, there's no real reason ever given for why the two families are fighting.
Right.
They just hate each other and have for so long.
Right.
It's very clear why the Nazis did what they did. Like, they left no room for ambiguity.
Yeah, I don't see a reason to humanize a Nazi at this point
That part.
in any way. And not that they would. Like, I don't know their script like that, but you kind of are, especially if you stick to the script, right?
Right. It's 2022. Act like you got some damn sense.
Yeah.
That's all. I
All
was
right,
just
well-
like, what?
It definitely belongs there.
So, billionaire man baby Elon Musk
Yeah.
is starting to go through the things that he likes and doesn't like about Twitter and putting his little stamp on the platform. And the first thing he did was fire everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next thing he did was say he's going to charge for a blue check.
I know. I love that.
I think the third thing he did was beg all the advertisers to please not flee Twitter like ticks off a dead dog's ass.
Which they're still doing.
Yeah, they are. But his whole thing when he wanted to take over was bringing back quote unquote free speech to the platform. And he said that he thinks content moderation is too heavy-handed on Twitter. And he reportedly has two top priorities, according to Bloomberg News. Mm-hmm. The first is Twitter's general misinformation policy, which penalizes posts that include falsehoods about topics like election outcomes and COVID-19, which personally I was glad to see put in place.
It was a great policy. Yeah, it was a good policy.
Like, that was the whole thing of like when you go to share an article and you might not have opened the article and it says, are you sure you want to share this yet? You haven't opened it. You want to read it for, like, I appreciated that.
Yeah, I do too, because, these fools are just spreading whatever they want to spread, and then they're fighting their right to do so. And, it's harmful. Mm-hmm. It's harmful. Mm-hmm. It really is.
The second is that Musk has also asked the team to review Twitter's hateful conduct policy. Mm-hmm. According to The People, specifically a section that says users can be penalized for, quote, targeted misgendering or dead naming of transgender individuals.
Gee, how much of this has to do with the fact that you have a trans daughter who can't stand you?
Ding, ding, ding. Ding, ding, ding.
So the rest of us should absolutely suffer because of it. Of course, it makes perfect sense.
Uh-huh.
This is why we don't need billionaires.
That part.
When we say the rich, we just mean the first one.
Yeah.
Just the one.
Although I imagine he would be like chewy and bitter.
It's metaphorical.
I know.
Yeah.
But still, if you got to prove a point, you got to go all the way. But anyway.
No, I don't. I decide when I'll go all the way. Thank you.
This comes, only a couple of years after Elon's official Twitter posted pronouns suck. So it's like, okay, we see where you are in this whole thing. Mm-hmm.
Is there going to be a Twitter by the end of all this? Is it even going to be a thing? Or is it just going to die?
The new thing I'm hearing about is Mastodon. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are starting up Mastodon accounts.
Wasn't that a dinosaur?
Yes.
Oh, God. Does that bode well? Like, I don't know what it is.
I mean, the logos are little cute little cartoon dinosaurs, and they're all happy and smiling, but I don't know.
Okay. Do we know anything about their policies or no?
I don't know yet. I did start to have an account. I started to make an account, but I was having trouble finding topics because you pick topics that you want to have shown to you, and there was nothing that I really cared enough about that I wanted to commit to. And until enough people are on it that it makes it worth it to make the shift, I don't know. But I'm just saying Mastodon is going to be the next big thing because
maybe
so many people are talking about leaving Twitter and starting Mastodon accounts.
Whatever.
But
my question was, will Twitter survive?
I don't know.
Yeah. Or will there be a fire sale and sanity will be restored at some point?
Exactly.
Yeah, the bank is out $44 billion.
Right.
Or something.
Yeah, he grossly
or
overpaid
40,
for that shit.
Yeah, 40 of the $44 billion.
Yeah. So it doesn't bode well. One of the big podcast groups that I communicate with primarily on Twitter has started a Discord channel that I've been enjoying. So, we'll see. I personally don't know how upset I'll be if Twitter goes the way of the dodo.
Yeah.
Because, ew.
There's an absolute overlap between transphobic speech and the spreading of misinformation.
Right.
Yeah, those two things often walk hand in hand.
Yeah. And on the subject of Elon and his dangerously fragile ego in Twitter, on Sunday, comedian and LGBTQ plus icon Kathy Griffin had her Twitter account suspended for mocking Elon Musk. To draw attention to the flaws in his plan to provide anyone who pays $7.99 for their verified check mark.
It went down a penny.
I know, right? She changed her Twitter profile photo and display name to mimic Musk's. And tweeted, "I've decided that voting blue for reproductive choice is only right."
Good for her.
And suddenly her account was suspended.
Wow.
Elon Musk then tweeted early Sunday evening, "Going forward, any Twitter handles engaging in impersonation without clearly specifying parody will be permanently suspended."
Wow. Okay. So this is just like his private little fiefdom now.
Exactly. Now, this is what's funny is he had tweeted a week before in reference to him, quote unquote, bringing free speech back. Quote, "Comedy is now legal on Twitter."
Oh, really?
He forgot to add, "as long as it's not about me, because I can't handle it."
Right.
Because even though I have multiple billions of dollars, I can't afford balls that are made of something stronger than Fabergé eggs.
I think they're fairly strong, aren't they?
No, they're very fragile.
Oh, are they?
That's why they're so expensive.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I don't have one. I don't know.
That's the whole point of it.
Oh, okay. I thought they were just exquisite and expensive, but they're also delicate.
Right.
Okay.
Which is part of the reason why they're so exquisite and expensive.
Gotcha.
Because they're very elaborate. But
Well, this is some elaborate bullshit.
right.
See, now I feel, I kind of felt bad that I never got into the Twitter thing. Like, if I do anything, I'm a little ninja. I will go say what I have to say, and then I leave. I don't read the shit that they say behind me.
Right.
Because it's never nice.
Right.
I mean, some of it is, but most of it's not. I'm not going to read that garbage.
Yeah, Twitter is the sewerest sewer that ever sewered a sewer.
I think the last thing of consequence for me that I weighed in on was Bette Midler.
Right.
Yeah. And then I went away.
Right.
I mean, I think some things get retweeted when I write and stuff, but that's like you, not me.
Oh yeah, I always retweet your stuff.
Yeah, it's because I don't Twitter.
Right. I'm basically
I don't Instagram either.
handle
really.
your social media.
You do. I mean, I Facebook
Right.
still, and that my pictures and stuff wind up, I think, on Instagram automatically.
Yes.
So there's that.
And
I'm
people like
trying
your
to
stuff.
participate. I'm trying to be a team player, but I just like so many platforms, so many things.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
So I just my only question in all of this is he going to tank Twitter, and how long is it going to take? Because he's losing. He doesn't understand the very nature of what he's purchased. He really doesn't.
Right. He just wants to be able to say what he wants to say, as horrible as it is, and not have any recourse or any...
That's what he wants, yeah.
Yeah.
He bought himself a platform. I hope it was about that. Or
Right.
something. Yeah, this is... Ugh.
He bought himself an echo chamber, at least that's what he thought. This was just an interesting little, really, no one thought this through moment. So lead singer of heavy metal band Judas Priest, Rob Halford, who is very out and proud gay and fabulous, was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Good.
At the same time, so was Eminem, who is notoriously homophobic.
Yeah.
In his music, and he likes to think that because he appeared on stage at the same time as Elton John that we're gonna be okay with the shit that he said.
What an odd verse of Kumbaya this is turning out to be.
Right. And I'm not going to sit here and say I don't understand Eminem being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Okay.
But it's like, you see who else is going to be on the dais that night. You couldn't have made one of them wait a year. I don't know. That's all. It was just like a moment. I mean, at the end of the day, they're both insanely rich white men who are getting an award, which is going to continue to make them insanely rich white men. So, whatever.
Yeah.
But it just made my little eyebrow raise. That's all.
All right. Yeah.
But Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis are also being inducted, and Janet Jackson is presenting the award to them, and she recreated her Control album look with the big hair swooped to the side, and that's all fabulous. So that makes it all palatable to me in that I'm gonna watch that, because frankly I didn't care about Judas Priest or Eminem, but I'll always care about Janet Jackson.
This is it fits under nonsense because it's a thing I don't care about. Yeah. Because if arguably they both have a place in history and they both agreed to, be on the same program, so what do I care? Just saying. Anyway, I want to follow up on the story we did about the Florida quote-unquote medical boards. They have voted as expected to ban gender-affirming care for youth.
Yeah.
They're trading the suffering of trans youth and their parents for cheap political points.
Yep.
So I'm reading out of LGBTQ Nation. They voted to institute this ban on gender-affirming care. The new rules, proposed by Florida's health department in April, backed by, of course, by Ron DeSantis, who just won re-election, prohibit gender-affirming surgical procedures, which don't actually happen, so that's fine.
Right.
Almost never performed, of course. Medications like puberty blockers and hormone therapy, though. And any other procedure that alters primary or secondary sexual characteristics for the treatment of gender dysphoria. So I guess if they're treating precocious puberty with puberty blockers, they're maybe still allowed to be used. I don't know. I don't know if they... I talked about this last episode. I'm not going to belabor it, but... that one of the ridiculous things that was said was, we have to understand the cause of gender dysphoria. It's like, oh, okay. Which is bullshit. This is all so much, it's political bullshit.
Right.
These boards are now political, period.
Yeah.
Full stop.
Yep.
Yeah. Proponents of the ban, of course, which we also talked about, were allowed to speak first with misleading and false claims.
Of course, that's all they got.
Yeah. One falsely claiming 90% of trans youth detransition, which is absolutely patently false.
Right.
And then, of course, I think they cut off conversation, where the community and supporters or, detractors of this whole nonsense, this political show, were involved. So, like I said, I the only thing I have to say about that is they did, of course, vote to advance what they were, there to do, which is screw with trans people. That's all this is about. They are ignoring all the science. They are ignoring all of the doctors who actually treat us, all of our therapists, major medical associations who are non-political in this world and in this country, in order to advance a very cynical political agenda that, costs mental health and may cost lives. Period.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's Florida now.
Yay.
Well, it is. So this I thought was interesting. I work hard not to say this man's name very often at all. Matt Walsh. With his "what is a woman" bullshit. But this was interesting because he went on Joe Rogan.
Another name I try not to say.
Well, also, yeah. But he was fact-checked.
I didn't know they knew how to do that over at Joe Rogan.
Apparently they do. Yeah, he told he told a huge lie, claiming millions of American children had been put on hormone blockers. Because he's a part of advancing this false narrative based on a lot of false information.
Yeah. Which all comes across as psychotic Mad Libs.
Yeah, he was forced to admit that he basically made it up. I want to get to exactly what was said. He, went into his claim that drug companies and healthcare providers benefit financially by prescribing medication. Puberty blockers specifically.
Right.
Used to delay puberty in some children who have expressed that they are trans, to allow them to develop emotionally and mentally before the permanent effects of puberty occur. Quote, I mean, they have staked everything on this. Bullshit. They've also staked their professional reputation, because that's the other problem. Not only is the political incentive and the money, but if they admit that they're wrong, which they're not, then they're also admitting that they have horribly disfigured and abused thousands, maybe millions of kids. The reason I don't talk about this person is because they talk exclusively out of their ass.
Yeah.
Rogan asked, how many people have had this done? We're talking about puberty blockers. Walsh replied, depends on what. I don't think we have exact numbers, but if we're talking about the drugs, millions. Millions of kids have been on hormone blockers? Really? I'm sure somebody's going to fact check me on it, but we guess it's that. We're into the millions now at this point. Yeah, that would be my guess. Walsh responded. Yeah. So, he continued to make absurd claims about double mastectomies, again using numbers that he made up. And that's when Rogan's producer, Jamie Vernon, interrupted. It turns out that millions of children hadn't been prescribed puberty blockers.
Nope.
Do you know how many?
How many?
Children have been placed on puberty blockers in the last 5 years?
Tell me.
4,780.
Over the course of how long now?
5 years. Less than 1,000 a year over the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rogan read a Reuters article out loud to his audience, saying, which is apparently where this number came from, that would be a big undercount. Less than 1,000 a year. Yeah. So my point was, these people lie.
Yeah, they do.
I don't know what Matt Walsh, other than he's getting rich.
Right.
By allowing himself to spread lies about my community. I don't know why he's in this conversation to begin with.
Right.
I guess he sees himself as some sort of crusader or something for alleged sanity or something, but there are no facts on your side.
Right.
All you exist to do, apparently, in life is fuck with trans people.
Just making shit up.
That's why I don't talk about this dude. That's why I don't mention his name, give him lighter air. But this I found interesting, that he's claiming millions, and the number of folks over the last 5 years, 4,780.
I was just reminded.
But this is a national crisis.
Right. These people that just say things, they just say things. There's no bearing in fact for what they're saying. They're just spouting regular, random shit. It reminds me of, there was this recurring sketch on In Living Color, and it was a diner, and sitting in the back in the corner of the diner, Tommy Davidson played this like crazy homeless person who would just like randomly blurt out random shit. Like Cadillacs make my feet stink. I got the toe jam. Who got the peanut butter? Like, that's what this sounds like to me. Let's just shout out things. And if at least 2 people react to it, then we're going to say it's a fact and we're going to expand on it. That's what this sounds like to me. It's insane. It's friggin' insane.
Yeah, well, I brought that up I appreciated that Rogan's podcast actually did a fact check.
Right.
So there was that.
I wonder if it hurt, because supposedly your first time always hurts.
Well, I still want to know where the hell the $100 million in Spotify money is that was supposed to be given to, diversity podcasts.
I ain't seen none.
God knows we haven't gotten a check.
Right. And it don't get more diverse than the 2 of us.
I know, right? Anyway, why don't we take a quick break? Just to refresh margaritas and come back and cleanse our palates.
Okay.
All right, we'll be right back.
Did you grow up with a lack of parental supervision? Do you know all the lyrics to The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? Remember Mayor McCheese and the Fry Guys? Have an inexplicable love for the California Raisins? Can you remember Madonna's original phase?
Then you might be a part of the Doom generation.
Laugh until you cry with us each week as we stumble blindly through the memories of the movies
And other random things
that doomed us to be the salty, sarcastic, sardonic ladies you want to hang with.
You know us, you love us, you can't fucking live without us.
Doom Generation, available everywhere you find podcasts.
And we're back.
We're back.
Nothing cleanses my palate quite like tequila.
You're silly.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I don't know much about this because actually I just heard about it, but Laverne Cox has a new talk show, I believe, on E, and it premiered last night. It's called If We're Being Honest with Laverne Cox.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that should be really interesting. I mean, she's got lots of stuff going on, and which is wonderful, including her Barbie doll,
Right.
which I still don't have one of. But this is cool. This is big. We don't get a lot of chance to talk, especially on a major network.
Exactly.
So this should be really kind of cool.
Cool. So the finale of Ink Master happened, and it's been a week or 2 weeks now. So I can say spoiler alert but whatever.
Does it matter who won?
Well, it does in that. So. Okay. Spoiler alert in 3, 2, 1. DJ Tamby won the finale of this season of Ink Master, which makes him a 3-time winner.
Okay.
Which, yes, okay, fine. I really enjoyed his tattoo. It was very, very good. He deserved to win. Can we get some new people on this damn show now?
I've been wondering about that because it's starting to feel very incestuous.
Right.
I'm like, wait a minute. I know these people and I don't even watch this show.
Right. We need some new people so that new people can win.
I thought that was kind of the whole point was, elevating the art of tattooing. And
right. For like 8 seasons
But it's only for this certain group of people, it seems, at this point.
Right. For 8 seasons, they had a new group each time. And then they started finding reasons to bring back this one and then this one, then whole casts worth of people. And now they had winners against, people that almost won. It's like, okay, you proved your point. Can we start over now,
are you saying Ink Master is a big circle jerk?
It's kind of become one, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But, I still watch it and enjoy it. But
right.
I'm ready for some new blood now. So.
Yeah. It'd be fun.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're ever going to do that again. Just like have all new contestants competing against one another.
That would be nice.
Yeah, it's weird how they keep recycling.
You know?
That's become the career of these people.
Right.
Is being on Ink Master.
Right. And it's like, okay, yes, you won 3 times, but it's like you shouldn't have had the opportunity to win 3 times.
Yeah, kinda.
That's all. It's like,
Although it's less annoying when Jeopardy does it. Although Jeopardy does keep having new people too. Because we just watched what was that called?
the exhibition.
The exhibition game. That was fun.
That was fun.
Because they were just kind of playing for points. There was no money. It didn't matter.
Right. They changed what they were playing for every time. Like, I'll wager 1,400 magic beans.
Yeah, but it was like the 3 top champions.
Right.
Including Amy Schneider.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Got her name right.
And hosted by Ken Jennings.
Right. So it was fun. Yeah. It was a fun.
Because when were you going to get them all in the same space again? So there you go.
Right. It was fun to watch.
And that shit was hard.
It was.
Like, even
Some
by
of it was hard.
Even by Tournament of Champions standards, that was hard.
Yeah. Yeah, like, I don't know. Don't know. They didn't know.
Even
a lot
Amy,
of it, they didn't know.
Even Amy was like, wow, what are we doing? My goodness.
None of them knew Ketanji Brown Jackson.
That was interesting.
That was troublesome.
But you know what?
To me.
Jeopardy has a history of that. Like, I remember one time there was a category, it was Black history, or African American history, excuse me. And they whittled away every single question on that board until just African American history was sitting there completely untouched. And I was just like,
And how did they do? Do you remember? Not well.
I think they did like okay, because I remember like the first half of the questions being like remedial ass 101 level questions.
Yeah, but our latest Supreme Court justice is a pretty remedial ass question. If you ask me.
Well, yeah,
that was weird.
That was weird. That was very weird.
And it was like 3 named people or something. Like there was,
right.
It wasn't hard, but nobody got it.
And
I'm like, oh, okay.
Black woman on the Supreme Court. That's not hard.
Yeah, it's really not. It's not a long list. Just those. Yeah.
If you'd have said black person, you'd have had a 50-50 chance of being right or wrong.
Yeah,
but when you say black woman, you kind of made that 100%.
Nobody got the answer. Nobody got the answer. Oh my goodness.
So here's a question that I posed. Has the Great British Bake Off jumped the shark in our house?
No. No, you know what the problem is? I'm binging Law and Order. That's the problem. I'm back to, my old comfort food. And the Halloween episode was on my nerves.
Well, yeah, but you were also a bit cranky about it after the fact when we were watching the next episode.
Yeah, a little bit.
You were like, I don't care about these people. I don't care about what they're doing. I don't care.
It's election season, and unless it wasn't clear this episode, Martha gets deeply interested in politics. I mean, I try to stay up on what is happening all the time, but I become immersed in what's going on, and then some things just feel silly, and I can't explain it. Well, I don't know why they got on my nerves. The little bald man, he annoys me.
Yeah,
and I don't know why. And it's not because he lost weight.
No, of course it's not.
It's not that.
Although he does look a little creepy.
A little bit. It's got, a little bit. But that's, I don't know why. I mean, I watched it all the way through.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, you're not as enchanted with this season.
I guess part of it is that I liked binging it.
Right.
I think.
You don't like having to wait for a new episode each week.
I guess. I don't know.
And I understand that.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't say it's jumped the shark.
Okay. Well, I've never seen you be this ambivalent towards the show before.
You know, I think I'm probably a little annoyed that they never, as far as I can tell, they never addressed the whole Mexican episode. They just pretended that never happened.
Right.
Which is very British.
Keep calm and carry on. Nothing to see here.
Nothing to see here. Colonizers? What do you mean? Like, yeah, it was because that was.
We found all these things in this museum.
You're right.
They
That
were
was
just laying there.
Such a faux pas that I thought maybe they would have something to say, which is nope. Mm-mm.
Okay.
Pretend that never happened, I guess, or something. And then I don't know why the Halloween thing was bothering me, but it was just like, oh God, I don't care. I think because I watched it after Halloween, and I'm like,
No, it was before Halloween.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, well, then it's just me. I'm cold and dead inside. Or something. I did not care.
Well, we
didn't watch the last episode. We figured out who got thrown off because I by the time we got to the showstopper, I was like, I don't care. I have no interest.
Well, that was the Halloween episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, we skipped it and went to the next one.
I was just like, whatever.
Yeah.
We'll figure out who's gone. And it was who I thought would be gone. So I was like, all right.
Right.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
I was just wondering.
I want to like it. And it was, the last one was fine. It was fine.
Well, this is like your refuge. So it's like
I
if you're
know.
being ambivalent towards your refuge, then
I know. And I don't know what to say about that other than,
well, now your refuge is Law and Order reruns, actually. So
yeah, isn't that weird? And again, there's just such a cadence to it, and I always kind of find the topics interesting. And again, I don't glorify the police or think that it's reality television, because it's not. But yeah, that's somehow comforting to me. It's like Kathy with Gunsmoke. How many times she thinks she's watched the entire series? I can't even imagine.
right.
But she's still, she's having another binge. I'm having another binge of Law and Order.
I may or may not have given into curiosity and gone back and started watching seasons of Drag Race that I heretofore was boycotting.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's on you.
So
Yeah.
I started watching season 12, and God damn it, I was having a good time.
Yeah. Again, might be just me, but I've been in them. I've been in those dressing rooms, and I'm like, yeah.
Well, it's funny because they tried to manufacture. They did this thing where, like, the first episode. It's so weird talking about season 12 when we're like way past it, but like they did this thing where like the first episode was like the first 7 queens, and then the second episode was the second 7 queens, and then they finally saw each other for the first time on the beginning of the third episode, and they tried to like manufacture this whole like rivalry, and this group isn't going to like this group, but then like a beat happened, and then this one recognized her friend on that side, and they were just like, oh my God, it's you, and then like it just broke the whole thing.
Maybe I should revisit marijuana.
Where the fuck did that come from?
Maybe that's my problem. Because I'm sitting here going, I don't care. Oh, this margarita's good. I don't care. Maybe that could be the missing element.
I know where you could find some.
I didn't say I had to look far. I just said perhaps. Perhaps I've been too hasty in my judgment, because I can't care.
You're unable to can.
Yeah. There's so many things like, don't care. Don't care.
Well, fine. Who are you?
Nobody.
No, I mean, who are you?
Why? Are we wrapping this up? Is that what,
There's nowhere else to go.
is that what you're doing? Like, you're done now. For this week, you've said all you're going to get to say.
Where is there to go after? I don't give a fuck.
It's not everything I don't care about. It's just,
Well, you're also very easily annoyed.
And I don't get high, but maybe I should. I'm very easily annoyed. I could think that's a big compliment about you then. If I'm very easily annoyed and you're still here, that says a lot about you. No?
Thank you.
You're welcome. That was like a, sideways compliment.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Full Circle, the podcast.
I guess we're done now. I am Martha Madrigal.
And I am Charles Tyson Jr.
And you've been listening to Full Circle,
the podcast.
Thank you for joining us. And we'll talk to you again next week.
Bye. Full Circle is a Never Scared Productions podcast, hosted by Charles Tyson Jr. and Martha Madrigal, produced and edited by Never Scared, executive produced by Charles Tyson Jr. and Martha Madrigal. Our theme and music is by the Jingleberries. All names, pictures, audio, and video clips are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of their respective copyright holders.